everyone, my name is Hannah. Welcome to a new video. Today's video is going to be my July wrap-up. So I read about 20 books in July, but I would still say it's not my best reading month because I had a reading lull in July where I was just reading a bunch of books that I just didn't feel anything for or that I just really didn't like. And so I did find some gems though. So the whole month of July, I was participating in Questathon, which was a readathon created by my good friend Sahar over at Basically Bookish Reads, and I have reading vlogs up for pretty much every single book that I read this month. So if you're interested in more of my in-depth thoughts or seeing me read these, you can go watch those. I'll try to leave some of them linked down below. But yeah, I think I'm going to do this wrap up a little differently. I've seen some of my friends do this and I kind of want to give it a try. It's where they start with their lowest rated books of the month and work up to their best books of the month. So that's what I'm going to try this month. We're going to see how it goes, see how I like it. I might go back to just talking about them in order that I read them, but we're going to start with my DNFs this month. So I had 2 DNFs this month. The first one was Neon Gods by Katie Robert. I just didn't enjoy this. I was not connected to the characters at all and I didn't really care what was happening. I love Hades and Persephone retellings, but this one I just couldn't get behind. Hades and Persephone met and then they got together really quickly, and I just need a bit more tension, a bit more build up and pining, and I just was not getting that from this, and I just didn't care. So I stopped reading this around 200 pages. So I did give it a fair shot. I was over halfway and just didn't care. The next book that I DNF'd was Someday, Someday Maybe by Lauren Graham. I just picked this up from Half Price Books for really cheap. It was in the clearance section and I thought I would give it a try because I do really like Lauren Graham, but I just did not like this main character. Franny, I think is her name. I could not. She was just too much. She was too much and I couldn't read from her point of view anymore. I couldn't do it. So I only got about 50 pages into this one and I did not enjoy those 50 pages. So I DNF'd it. The next book I'm going to talk about is a book that I did not give a rating to. I don't do this very often, but it just didn't feel like I could give it a rating, you know? So that book is Assembly by Natasha Brown. This is a very short, little short story almost. It's about 100 pages and it was interesting. It was a weird, just the way it was told was not my particular favorite writing style, I guess. And since it was only 100 pages, it just felt kind of weird to, I don't know. This book, I don't know. I don't know what I feel about this. So I just couldn't give it a rating. I don't know. I don't have very much to say about this. I just don't know. So now we're going to get into my 1-star ratings. I do have one of those. They are not very common for me. Usually if it's going to be 1 star, I end up DNFing it anyways. But this one I did finish, but I really hated it. And that is Twisted Love by Anna Huang. I read the whole thing. Wish that I didn't. Yeah, I really did not vibe with this book at all. I didn't like the main character. I thought she was annoying. I thought she was naive, a bit silly. They just really played up that naivety a lot and it just got on my nerves. The main love interest was I don't know. I didn't like him. I felt like they had zero chemistry at all. Just them together, I just don't see how that worked. I couldn't see it. I couldn't see it. And there was just there was a lot going on in here, but a lot of it was brushed over where I felt like it should have had spent more time on it. And then there were some villains in this that honestly felt very cartoon villainy. They were just pure evil, and the reveals for certain things were so stupid, and I was just so annoyed for most of this book. I wish I DNF'd it, but 1 star. I do also have a 2 and a 2.5 star rating. So my 2-star rating for this month was The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. This was such a disappointment for me. I love Riley Sager's other books. I don't think I've given any of his other books less than 4 stars. I've either just enjoyed them, thought they were a fun time, or I loved them and they're a favorite thriller. But this one just really was not it for me. I thought it was really annoying. The main character brought up how much of an alcoholic she was constantly. Every page she talks about what she's drinking and she says bourbon 15 times on a page, and it's just I get it. I get it. You don't have to mention it on every single page for me to understand that this main character is an alcoholic. I thought the twist was odd. I didn't enjoy the twist, and I just, like, it just really fell flat for me. It wasn't what I wanted. I was hoping for more. Didn't end up getting it. 2 stars. My 2.5 star for this month was unfortunately Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Sulin. I was really hopeful for this one. I mean, I love this cover. I'm still going to keep this even though I didn't like it. I got this in London, so I'm keeping it. But yeah, I didn't really end up enjoying this one. I did like the first like 100 to 200 pages. I really liked the like whimsy of it all, and I liked, you know, where the story was headed. And then it took a turn, and that's where my enjoyment started to really go down. Like, I wasn't expecting certain things. I was expecting it to be more of like a whimsical fantasy tale, and it went way more into the military and politics than I was anticipating. And it's not that I don't like those things, it's just that I didn't want that from this, and I didn't like where the story went. And the main character would get into certain situations where she would be like, this is impossible, how am I ever going to overcome this? And then it was like 2 pages later and everything was fine. It went totally in her favor and nothing bad even happened. Like, it was just so ridiculous. And yeah, I didn't enjoy this one. I have realized now that I haven't been telling you like what these books are actually about, so I'll start doing that, but I'm not going to go back and tell you what all of those other books that I just talked about are about. Okay, so now we're getting into my 3-star reads. So the first 2 that I'm going to talk about here are War and Famine by Thalassa. I originally gave Famine 4 stars when I read it, but the longer I've sat with it, I was like, no, I was just like trying to want it to be 4 stars. Like, I wanted it to be 4 stars, but it wasn't. It's really more of a 3. So I decided to change my rating. But yeah, these ones, I really liked Pestilence, the first book in this series. This is book 2 and 3 in the 4 Horsemen series, and these just really felt like a carbon copy of Pestilence. So I enjoyed Pestilence. If I would have read War first, I probably would have enjoyed War. If I would have read Famine first, I probably would have enjoyed Famine. But it's like, it just feels like the same story repeating itself. Like, one of the 4 horsemen comes to the earth, is trying to kill all the humans and end humanity, meets a woman, starts falling in love with her, changes his ways. That is literally the same plot for each of these books. Famine had a little bit of a different twist to it that I did enjoy, and then the ending wasn't the exact same ending that we got in the last 2 books, which I was happy with, but it still was just like fine. It was fine. I probably will never reread these, is my guess. I don't know, but yeah, it just like, they just were fine. They exist. I also read Along the Saltwise Sea by A. Deborah Baker, which is a pen name for Shauna Maguire. This is the 2nd book in the Over the Woodward Wall series. I don't know if the series has its own name, but it's kind of like a companion-ish to the Middle Game series by Shauna Maguire. It's like a children's fairy tale that's set in the world of Middle Game. And so I read the first book, and it gives very Wayward Children's vibes, but just like not as good in my opinion. It's these 2 children that end up being transported to a different world and finding their way through that world and acclimating to the rules of that world and stuff. And again, it was another 3 stars. God, I hate 3 stars so much. They're just so bland. They're fine. They're books that exist in the world. I did read them. I didn't hate them, didn't love them. They're just there. I also picked up Giant Days volume 10, which is, I think, my least favorite volume in the whole series. I love Giant Days. It's my favorite graphic novel series ever. As a whole, I give the series 5 stars, but each individual graphic novel doesn't always get 5 stars for me. And this was just the case of like, I loved being with these characters. It's just that the stories themselves, like the chapters in them, they were just fine. Again, like, nothing bad to say about them, nothing great either. They just were. It just felt like a filler graphic novel, to be honest. But I love the art style in this, and I love the characters, so I was still happy to read it. It just didn't give me everything that I like about the other volumes, if that makes sense. Then I have a 3.5 here, which I originally gave a 4 when I was reading it, but again, the longer that I sit with it, the more I'm like, was that really the right rating? I don't know. So if that bothers you, I just kind of like go off of the vibes with my ratings. When I finish the book, I'm like, how did that feel? What kind of rating did that feel like? But then after I sit with it for a while and after I get to like really think about it, sometimes I change my mind on that. So this is one of them. So this 3.5 book was Twin Crowns by Catherine Doyle and Catherine Weber. This is a YA fantasy following these two sisters who were split up at birth. One of them was raised as a princess to this kingdom, and the other one was raised in the forest as a witch. And on their 18th birthday, right before the one was raised as a princess is about to be crowned queen, they switch places. So the witch sister comes and takes her place because they're twins, and then the witches like kind of capture the princess. They don't like, I mean, they do kidnap her, but it's not like a mean kidnapping. But yeah, the one sister, Rose, the princess, she does not, know about this plot, but obviously the other one, I don't even remember her name, Ren, she has been like training for this her whole life because the witches in this world are oppressed and they're like being hunted to the point of almost extinction, and they want to take over this kingdom so that witches can live free again. And I really, really liked Ren's character. It's funny that I didn't remember Ren's name, but I remembered the princess's name, Rose, because I did not like Rose. She was the downfall of this book, to be honest. She acts like so prissy, and like so many times throughout this book, Rose would be like, I'm gonna send you to the dungeons. I'm the princess. You have to treat me a certain way, and like blah, blah, blah. She was just so annoying. And I was like, God damn, girl, shut up. Ren, however, she was scrappy. I really liked her. She had like this like sassy, sarcastic attitude, and she is like, I don't know, she's just like such a fun character to watch and like to read from. But Rose was just like seriously annoying. So I will probably continue on. I think there's going to be one more book in this series, but I will continue on for Ren and Rose. I'm really hoping for some character development from her because we did not get it in this book. Next up, we have our 4-star rating. So we're starting to get into the point where I was enjoying the books that I was reading, which is great. So the first 4-star I'm going to talk about is another one that I changed its rating. Who's surprised? Not me. So that one is Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. Originally, I gave this a 3 stars, but the longer I've sat with it, the more I've thought about it, the more I realized that I really did enjoy this book. And I loved the writing in this book so much. I do think that next summer, I'm probably going to try to reread this so I can annotate in it because the writing was just really, really good. And yeah, it's like a lake house second chance romance kind of situation where this girl goes to this like lake house every summer and she meets these two boys, these two brothers who live there like full time, and she starts developing a friendship and a romance with one of them, and something happened all those years ago and that split them apart, and now we are following the present where the boy's mother has passed away. And so one of the brothers calls the main girl and says like, hey, I know our mom was really important to you and she just died. I think it would mean a lot if you came to her funeral. And so now she's back in this town and we're starting to see them like falling back into where they left off pretty much. So yeah, I did actually enjoy this. It was frustrating at times, but honestly, the more I've sat with it, the less frustrated I've got with it, and the more I've just accepted that these characters are flawed, and I did really enjoy it. I especially loved the writing, so 4 stars for this one. Then we have Count Your Lucky Stars by Alexandria Belflore. This is the 3rd book in the Written in the Stars series. I don't know if this one has like a series name. I don't know, but this was following the best friend and roommate of Elle from the 1st book, and like her little sapphic romance, which was really, really cute. I really enjoyed this one. It's still set in Seattle, but it's another second chance romance, which normally I don't like second chance romances because you don't get to see like the buildup of the relationship because they have all this history already. But I've been finding a lot of second chance romances that I really enjoyed, so who knew? But yeah, this follows Margot, who is like friends with the gang from the rest of the other 2 books. And then her like high school best friend, who they had like a, very romantic week when they were in high school. And then they kind of had a falling out and haven't spoken for several years. And this girl is now planning her best friend's wedding. So that's how they get like thrown back together. And it also has the forced proximity trope in it because The one girl's like apartment flooded or something and she has nowhere to go, and so she has the spare room so they can stay together, so they're like living together. Yeah, anyways, I did really like this one. I thought it was very cute. Love Alexandria Belflore's writing. She just announced that she's got a new book coming out next year, which I am very excited to read. But yeah, I really like this one. 4 stars. Next up, we have The Song of the Marked by S.M. Gaither. This was a recommendation from my friend Rachel over at Raven-Haired Reader, and it is a fantasy romance. Basically, we follow this girl, Cassia, who has been touched by this illness that normally kills people, but did not kill her, so there's that mystery to it. And she's kind of like a mercenary a little bit, and she's trying to figure out like what's going on with this sickness and where it's coming from, where it started, what's going on with that. And she ends up getting roped into this investigation kind of with this guy who works for, is he called the Emperor? The King? The King Emperor? I don't even know. But he's like the king in this world, and they get thrown together and they have this like bickering, like kind of hate to love relationship, but like toned down a bit. Like it's not like hate to love, it's like more like annoyed to love kind of situation. But yeah, this is the first book in a 5-book series, so it's starting to kind of set up the story. I really enjoyed this one. Really liked the writing, very fast paced, quick to read, even though it's quite the chunker. So I'm definitely excited to continue on with this series. Next up, I have Falls Boys by Penelope Douglas. This is the newest Penelope Douglas release. It is a spin-off series to the Fall Away series. The first book in that series is called Bully, and this is the children of all of the couples in the Fall Away series. So that is pretty cool. So we are able to see those characters, but now as adults and as parents, which is kind of fun. But it's still set in this town, and there's still like so much going on, and I really enjoyed this one. It is a bad girl, good boy romance, and I just really like Penelope Douglas's writing, and that there's more to it than just the romance. Like there's always some sort of like emotional aspect to it. The main girl, Arrow, she is poor. She is kind of on her own working for this gang because she's got nowhere else to go and nothing else to like do to give her money so that she can help out her 2 siblings who are in a not great situation, not great home life. And then it follows Hawk, who is one of the children of the couples from the other series. And he's kind of very privileged, very rich. You know, he's living on the right side of the tracks. And they have like a run-in basically where they are kind of forced to be allies in this situation, and so they kind of have to work together for a little bit, and then that romance starts to develop from there. And I did really enjoy this one. Definitely looking forward to the next books in the series. Another 4-star for me was Giant Days Volume 11. I used this to complete Questathon because I needed a fast read, and I think I originally gave this one 3 stars the first time I read it, but I just really enjoyed this volume. I was laughing out loud several times, and these characters, they're so funny. But yeah, the last like chapter, they changed the art style to one that I don't like as much, although that's not like the book's fault, you know. But also I just didn't really care for the story in that one. But that was the only like gripe that I had with this one, so I gave it 4 stars this time. But yeah, I did really enjoy this volume. I did have one 4.5 star read, and that was Gleam by Raven Kennedy. This is book 3 in the Plated Prisoner series. I really like where this series is going. I really like the character development that we got with the main character, Orin. Basically, this is a King Midas retelling, and we're following the main character, Orin, who has been gold touched. So her whole body is gold, all her skin, her hair, everything is gold. And she's like the king's favored. That's all I'm gonna say at this point. So it's kind of like a fantasy romance, but the romance doesn't really start until later in the series. But yeah, I really like this one. The ending was incredible. The last 100 pages just blew me away. So I decided to give it a 4.5 over a 4 because I did really enjoy this one. Definitely excited to pick up the next installment. Now we're getting into my 5-star reads. I had 3 of them this month, if you can believe it, because I said this is not my best reading month, but I had 3 5-star reads, so that is really good. And I found a new favorite of all time. So the first 5-star book that I'm going to talk about is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. This is the 3rd Emily Henry like adult romance that I've read. I think maybe she only has these 3, but they're all some of my favorite romances of all time. They've all gotten 5 stars from me. I absolutely love this one. It's like these 2 kind of uptight people. So they're very like particular. They're very kind of like workaholics where they take their job very seriously and they want to do everything right. They both work in the publishing industry. One of them is a literary agent and one of them is an editor, I think. And they kind of get off on the wrong foot at first. Because they're very like abrupt, I guess. I don't know. I don't want to say anything bad because I love these characters, but it makes them seem like they're not likable, but they definitely are. And then the girl ends up going on a trip with her sister to this tiny small town that was like the inspiration for one of the towns in the book that she like helped agenting, I don't know. Anyways, they go to this small town and it turns out the editor guy is there, and so they kind of get thrown together again, and it has these little small town vibes that are like kind of a mix between Gilmore Girls and Schitt's Creek. So if you like either of those, this was a pretty cute like small town. Also loved how bookish this book was, and their banter was just like the cutest thing ever. I was like smiling at this book so much that it made my cheeks hurt when I was reading it. So yes, I will definitely be picking up any adult romance that Emily Henry puts out because this was amazing. And now we've got my final two books, which are both 5 stars, both by the same author, and that is Magnolia Parks and Daisy Hates. I picked these up because of Lachlan over at Locke's Library. I have spoilery reading vlogs for both of these as well as spoiler-free content for them. My spoiler vlog for Magnolia Parks has spoiler-free parts in it, and I have them like the chapters in it so you can skip over the spoilers, and I make my warning very clear. So if you did want to watch that and watch it without spoilers, I do have that. And then I have a vlog where I read Daisy Hates and gave my spoiler-free thoughts on it, but I also have a full spoilery reading vlog for this one as well, which I will leave linked down below. But yeah, Lachlan recommended these. She recently read them, I think within the last few weeks, and has just been raving about them, and I was so curious that I had to pick them up, and I'm so glad that I did because Magnolia Parks is a new favorite book of all time. I mean, like, you can see from how much I tabbed that, I annotated the absolute crap out of it. But yeah, I was hooked from the very first page. Like before chapter 1 even starts, I was hooked. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. So yes, I love these so much. I gave them both 5 stars. So Magnolia Parks follows Magnolia Parks and BJ Valentine, who are these high society socialites basically in London. They're very rich, and they have a lot of like mess in their lives. Like their relationships are just very messy. Their relationship with each other is very unhealthy, honestly, but like in the best possible way. And you just follow these characters and like as they navigate these messy relationships, and the writing, I can't even sing its praises enough. It is insane how good the writing in this book is. It's so crazy. I tabbed so many quotes, and literally I could open up to any random page and just like instantly feel feel it in my chest. Like it's so good. And then Daisy Hates is set like during the same time as Magnolia Parks. It's just following different characters, so you get different points of view, but this is in no way like this book from different points of view. There's a few overlapping scenes, but then when you're with those other characters' points of view, you see what is going on in their lives, and this one is intense. Like there's so much going on here. The main character in this is the sister of like a crime lord, like gang leader basically, and so she just has like a very action-packed life basically. But yeah, it still follows like rich people, messy lives. Love to see it. But yes, I can't. If I could give Magnolia Parks more than 5 stars, I would give it 10 stars, a million stars. Like it is so good. So that was the best way to wrap up July. Like that was the best way to end it after I had a string of very mediocre and not good books. To end it on a high like this, where Magnolia Parks is my favorite book of the year, like it's been amazing. All right, so here are all of the books that I read this month, minus the couple that I read the ebook version of them. So you see now why I didn't want to say I was in a reading slump in July, because like, look at how much I read in July. So I'm just gonna go ahead and call that time a reading lull, because I just wasn't enjoying those books. But like I said, it was great to find some new favorites. I had 3 5-stars in July, which is amazing. So it was nice to end the month on an absolute high with Magnolia Parks. If you made it to the end of this video, leave the tree emoji. I know there's not like a willow, but leave the tree emoji for Magnolia Parks to let me know that you made it to the end of this video. And if you want to follow me on social media, I have my Instagram and my Goodreads linked down below. That's where I am probably the most active. I don't use Twitter anymore, and my TikTok I use like very occasionally, but my Instagram and my Goodreads I use pretty much daily. So if you want to follow me on there, you can go ahead and do that. I'll leave those linked down below. And thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!